Welcome to Sportex, and I'm joined by Zarina Badhur, independent marketing and communication strategist and consultant. This interview is part of our Women's Month series as to what I do in sport. Let's start off by describing, Zarina, as to what is it that you do in the sports business industry, and welcome.
Thank you, Gerrit. This is an honor to be there, especially for you, Women's Month. So, as you said, I am a sports consultant. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, so I'm very fortunate to have experienced multiple different facets of the industry. And working in an independent space means that I can focus on different areas as well. So I've been very proficient with, operations, project management, but I think I'm really passionate about communications, PR, and strategy. I'm also on the board of Sports Africa Unified, which is a sports business and education platform, which, kind of drives business in Africa as well. And I am also a newly elected member to the FIFA Master Alumni Committee. So, it's quite an honor to be here and to just talk sport.
Yeah, and talking about your proficiency or your skill set and the area that you love most being active in is PR and marketing and communications. And how can that skill set be of benefit to especially emerging or nascent sports bodies? Because that's the area of focus. How could that skill set benefit them? Meaning to say, how is it that they can approach you as opposed to you approach them and say, yeah, I have a skill set that can be of benefit to you. Let's have a conversation.
Well, easily contact me on LinkedIn as a starting point. But I mean, the thing is with communications and PR, looking at anything you do, you need to be able to connect your audience. And that's what makes communication so important. Telling your story, telling your version of events, whether it's crisis management, whether you're sharing a project, it's really important how you present it. Sport is a very emotional industry. Sport is very emotional to its audience. And to have these skills, it means that you need to be able to connect you're able to use communications to connect at an emotional level. And then, looking at strategy as well, it's finding ways to connect to your audience in diverse ways, in different concepts, finding ways that matter to them more than yourself, more than anything else. Because whether you're talking to sports people or whether you're talking to, the sports fan or a business, there's different approaches. And those are things that we tend to take for granted, and it's always evolving. So being on this side of the fence, it means, I'm really good with relationship management, which is also very important, and building that relationship through communication. I think it's very much like any other relationship building method, where you kind of, you whether you're talking to a parent or you're talking to a kid or, you're going on a date, it's building that connection, building that relationship, and finding ways that matter to both parties that actually make a big difference. And that's where communications, PR, and strategy elements come in.
So the notion of advice or the prompt to sports bodies is there's always a story to be told, and here are the modern day tools at our disposal.
Exactly. Using the right words, the right way, the right time, all of that actually matters.
Okay, so seeing that we are in Women's Month celebration in South Africa, what's your view on how more women could be upskilled to enter this ever-changing and vibrant sports business sector? And the viewers will notice that we've got a ticker tape running at the bottom talking about women's representation in sport. What's your views on opening up more doors?
The first thing is women need to recognize that it is accessible as a starting point. The element you're mentioning there about volunteers I think it's critical. We take that for granted. So whether it's volunteering at a mega event, whether it's volunteering at your local, as your local sports clubs, it doesn't matter which sport. I think that's a brilliant starting point, especially if you don't understand the industry at all. And then it's also important for women to whether it's getting involved in internships, whether it's using what they already know. You could be a marketing expert, you could be an educator, an accountant. It's important to recognize that these are elements that matter in the sports industry. The industry is no longer, a volunteer kind of space consistently. It's no more amateur. And whether you in Orlando Pirates or whether you're a FIFA or the National Hockey League, it doesn't really matter. The point is that these skills are needed. So people need to understand whether there's an athlete that needs management. He needs to sign a contract. You need a lawyer. You need an agent. And the industry is not just a matter of you can be a sports manager on the field and directing the athlete, or you don't just need to be an athlete or a coach. It's a very diverse area. It's a very diverse industry. And you ultimately need to be looking at ways that you bring your skill sets, your points of interest into it, because there's opportunities everywhere.
But starting out as a volunteer is the best piece of advice you could give in
Oh,
terms of the
yes.
learning curve.
Volunteering and internships, definitely. I think even as you're studying, it's cool to just go into a sports club, go into your local organizations, just be like, hey, listen, guys, I want to shadow somebody as well. Sometimes they don't need volunteers. Sometimes it's just a matter of going and seeing what people are doing and understanding what people are doing and getting a feel for it. It's something that, a lot of people will talk in other industries. So if I want to become a dentist, I go in, I see what the dentist is doing and what is expected of them. And it's no different with the sports industry. You find an area that really appeals to you and it appeals to your interest. So for me, obviously with communications, it's paying attention to what media people are doing, for example. If that is your area of interest. So, you call up somebody from Supersport, or, you send an email or reach out to someone like me on LinkedIn, and you kind of, you just tell them your story and why you're interested and make that effort to connect. And there's going to be, a lot of rejections along the way. But with everything, there's a lot of rejection, and eventually you will get somebody who finds your level of interest important enough, and people will say yes eventually.
Yeah. So I believe that the glass ceiling is a creation of I don't want to accuse men of the word you used earlier being misogynist, but I think it stems from that. But now, if it's there as a reality, which I think it's an artificial reality, if you ask me, what is it that women can do more to bring about intervention so that you pay it forward?
I think that's what you said is important. It's basically a case of pay it forward. That's really important. We need mentorship. We need to take things by the horns at points in time. You go into spaces and talk to other women, and I think the really important thing is collaboration.
Yeah.
We can't always view things as a competition. And I know, the general mindset that we are consistently taught of, especially on the internet and, social media platforms and things, is hey, everything's a competition. It's really not. To excel professionally, to excel personally, we have to be working with people. And I think that makes a big difference, because whether it's women only spaces or women and men spaces, we can all work together and lift each other up and basically help, the next generation come across. So if there's opportunities and opportunities for volunteering, it's opportunities for internships, it's opportunities to just, give somebody a leg up in that industry, just sharing advice and serving as a mentor. I think that's really important. And that is how you basically break that glass ceiling.
Yeah. So you've used the word collaboration, and bear in mind that that is a different conversation for another day, and even a workshop in itself, as to unpack the elements and the DNA of what it is to collaborate as opposed to form partnership, because we find often that within partnerships there's a conflict of interest and understanding and expectations, and it's sometimes very difficult to manage. Whereas in collaborating with each other, we each still stay on our same path, or different paths for that matter, but we do something, as the Japanese would say, in kaizen. Kai
Yes.
to change, zen for the better. Perhaps on another day we can have a conversation on that. But looking back at your career to date, what is the advice that you would give to someone looking to enter your sector, and say, be mindful of these obstacles and rather consider these solutions to challenges which you may face on your journey ahead?
I think the most important thing is learn who you are, learn what your values are. It's easy to get caught up in the glamour or the illusion of the glamour of the industry. Sport is hard work. If you don't believe in giving up holidays or weekends, family time, birthdays and stuff, the sports industry won't be for you in the broader sense. Obviously, it depends on what you do. There are some 9 to 5 jobs, definitely, but the reality with sport is that it happens over weekends. It happens at night. It happens, when everybody else is on holiday
Yeah.
and you need to be at work. So you need to be aware of that and be conscious of that reality. You need to know, like I said, also know your values, because it's, again, there's a lot of temptation in that space. It's, you if you don't know who you are, you can easily get lost, because you think, okay, I want to get involved in this project, I want to get involved, everything looks interesting, everything looks enticing. You want to do everything, you want to explore every option. And if you aren't aware of that, and you don't know how much you can handle, you don't know your emotional capacity, your mental capacity, you will struggle. It's important, I think, not just in the sports industry, but across any aspect of life. If you don't know how to say no, if you don't know how, if something doesn't fit what you want to do, for example, like for me, I'm a practicing Muslim, so I don't drink alcohol, and sport is surrounded by alcohol and betting. So for me, I was very fortunate in a lot of the things that I've done where people didn't force me to work with alcohol brands, because I don't, it goes against my religious beliefs. So, those are things, when I talk about values and things like that, these are things that you need to be aware of, and you need to know where your limitations are, and you need to be able to communicate those limitations. Yeah, otherwise, like I said, it's very easy to get kind of lost, and you kind of lose yourself in the process.
Okay. Some sage advice there from Zarina. Zarina, did you have mentors, and how do you view their importance?
Oh, mentors are critically important. I think, they help guide the process. I've had a few from the very start of my career. So, especially early on, I kind of learned a lot on Ashraf Garda and Islam Kota, because when I started out, that's where I began my career with them in a very small boutique agency called the Boundary Breakers. But over the years, whether it's friends or people like you, or, various individuals that I've worked with, people from my studies as well, it's easy to kind of reach out and having chats, talking about your struggles, talking about the challenges, just getting advice. And I don't think you ever outgrow that. I even took part in a mentorship program in the past. Sometimes I've served as a mentor, and sometimes I was the mentee officially. And I think those things make a big difference, especially when you're entering the industry, when you're going through transitional phases, or your company or the organizations you're working with are going through transitions. It becomes that much more important. And, if you want to work in a global sports area, especially, then you need to understand the different global dynamics, and mentors definitely play a big part in understanding that.
Okay, great stuff. So finally, what are the biggest strengths you see emerging in the sports business industry? And I
I
want to connect, that especially with the need to continuously upskill yourself and to be prepared for that changes and trends taking place in the industry. Your views?
There's a few happening, but I think the most obvious ones, are relating to technology.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in the technological space, whether you're talking about AI or you're talking about virtual reality. There's a lot going on there, and that will continue to evolve. I don't think anything technologically, from a technology perspective is actually set. A few years ago, we would not have believed that you can actually watch your sports on YouTube. And now you can watch, especially women's football, for example, on YouTube, because of the various organizations that made it possible. But I think for your audience specifically, I think what's really important is the emergence of women's sports. When women were starting to take part in football, starting to take part in the team sports space, basketball and things like that, people did not think it would go down well. And if you look at the numbers of individuals and people that have just been watching the Women's World Cup and the UEFA Champions League final, and the T20 series for women, the WNBA, you're seeing a lot more happening. And I think part of it is obviously, women want to take part. Women are interested in sport, but it's also, as the younger generation are looking forward, they are seeing people that relate to them. We are seeing people that look like us that are taking part, whether they're wearing hijab or whether they're wearing shorts, whether they're black, white, Indian, colored, it doesn't really matter. We are seeing individuals like us actually achieve, and that is making a big difference. And I think for brands, if they're not looking at a women's sports space, they are definitely going to be missing out in the long run.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks for that insight and advice, Zarina. So that was Zarina Badhur, independent marketing and communication strategist and consultant. Thank you for your time and insights, which is very much appreciated. That's where we would leave it for now. And thank you for watching What I Do in Sport as part of the Women's Month celebration series in South Africa on the SportX channel, which is hosted on TalkX TV. Until next time.